Hello everybody, it's 2 o'clock. I just wanted to pop on here for everybody who is in attendance. There's about half who have signed up and not present. I know many folks have signed up even though they are busy in hopes of getting the recording, which will come out to you in a couple of days. And I'm just going to wait just a couple minutes to see if anybody else pops on here before getting started, but just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to join me this afternoon and learn a little bit about what we'll be doing this summertime with Garden in a Box. While we are here, I'm just wondering if I could ask a favor of those of you who are listening to me right now. Just to make sure that everything is clear, I'm wondering if one of you could jump down to the chat box and let me know that you can hear me okay. If I don't hear anything there, then I might find another way to communicate. Perfect. All right. Okay, to honor your time, I'm just going to get started here. We have a little bit intro, so folks who are coming in a little bit late shouldn't miss anything. So for all of you who didn't know, my name's Sam Johnson. I'm the coordinator for Garden in a Box with the Minnesota State Horticultural Society. Just wanted to get you all in one place so that we could talk a little bit through logistics and what we have in store for the summertime so that you can get a better idea of what Garden in a Box provides you and what we can do to work together to make really great gardening experiences this summer. I am really excited about the group of participants for this summer. You represent a lot of really wonderful organizations across the state of Minnesota. You all are working with a lot of youth and people low income and others who are deserving of gardening experiences, and hopefully we'll have a great time with our garden kits over the summertime here. Now, my role while we are going over the summertime is just trying to assist you as much as possible. I kind of consider myself almost an executive assistant. We do have some expectations of you, but really this is just trying to get resources to you so that you can build your own gardening programs with your organizations and bring great experiences to your participants so that hopefully in following years, gardening really becomes something that they're passionate about, that they really enjoy, and they can use to inform decisions on nutrition, decisions on education, those sorts of things. So hopefully it's a positive experience this year, and I'll do all I can to make sure that that is the case. So the first thing is just a little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to be going through this. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them into the question and answer, which is the chat box. So it's the same thing. And I will get back around to them at the end. And really, because of feedback, etc., it's easier for me to entertain questions that are typed out. I have a capability of unmuting everybody so that we can have a conversation, but because there's so many in attendance, I'm just going to leave the questions to the chat box and then get back to them at the end of the presentation, okay? So if you do have anything that you have questions about, feel free to throw it in there, and then I'll swing back around. So, Garden in a Box. The first thing that I want to talk about, once my computer unfreezes, is a little bit about the Minnesota State Horticultural Societies, because I know that's there's varying amounts of awareness about what we do at the State Hort Society and what Garden in a Box has to do with Hort Society and other offerings that the Hort Society gives to the community of Minnesota here. And the first thing I want to introduce you to is Northern Gardener Magazine, which is a really wonderful publication that we've been doing since the very beginning. It really has more higher level advice on anything from horticultural, which is flowers, etc., to agriculture and gardening tips for people who are really passionate about gardening. We've got a lot of great columnists, really great articles, and this is probably the biggest benefit to the organization. The Hort Society is a member-based organization, so we have a lot of garden enthusiasts out there who sign up to receive the magazine. And when they receive the magazine, when they sign up, they also receive discounts at local garden stores and nurseries. And they also receive all the classes that we provide both online and then in person as well. And then they also receive tickets to both the St. Paul and Minneapolis home and patio shows. So that's the way that we kind of make ends meet at the Hort Society. But in addition to that, we have a couple of service programs as well that really speak to our mission as a nonprofit. So the first one of those is Minnesota Green, and we've been operating Minnesota Green for about 30 years. And the concept is fairly simple for Minnesota Green. We have a lot of great industry partners who trust us and come to us with any surplus plants, whether they be flowers or shrubs or vegetable plants, and they're able to donate those to us, and we get them to community gardens in Minneapolis and St. Paul, the metro area here. So we have lots of community gardens and other community-based groups that will sign up for Minnesota Green. They pay a nominal, I think, $55 fee, and then they get access to an unbelievable amount of seeds and plants, etc. And so that's one thing that I want you to keep in mind for later years, because Garden in a Box, we do help you out for 3 years, but afterwards I know a lot of people still have needs of seeds and plants, etc., and we would funnel you over to Minnesota Green if you were one of those groups. And then, of course, the other program that we do is Garden in a Box, which is my program, which in a nutshell is just getting resources out to groups that represent or serve youth and people in need. And I've been running this program for just 2 years now, so kind of have my feet underneath me. I've got a lot of great ideas for ways to expand this program. So as we're moving through the season, if you see things that would really help you out that we don't offer, or ways that we could tweak the program to continue a great partnership with you, I'm all ears with that, because I know that there's a lot of demand out there. The people who are accepted, you represent one of 46 groups out of 101 who had applied. So we were only able to take about 40–45% of the people who had applied for garden kits. And we want to expand this program because we see so much benefit with it. So I know that you've looked at this before, but I just want to re-articulate so that we can start this season on the same page. Garden Box program was created to help you all provide youth and their families experience poverty, access to healthy foods, and educational opportunities through gardening. I feel like when I'm talking to everybody who's applied to Garden in a Box, I'm speaking to the choir, because you all know how much benefits come from gardening. You know the social benefits that come from gardening, the nutritional and health benefits and the wellness benefits, the community that sprouts around a garden, and the great experiences that people receive with gardens. So we are totally head over heels about this program and think that it's something that everybody should be able to experience. We want to get gardening experiences out there because of the benefits it provides. We are able to do this first and foremost from a very generous grant from the Cargill Foundation, and also grants from health partners and individuals who donate to the State Hort Society here, because we are a nonprofit. Also, if you are in Ramsey County, you get quite a bit of support from the St. Paul Garden Club, Ramsey County Public Health, and the SHIP program, Statewide Health Improvement Partnership. Now, just to make you all aware of who else is on the line, who else is working with Garden in a Box, it really is quite a spectrum, anywhere from early child care organizations, summer school programs, to food shelves, affordable housing complexes, high schools, hospitals, park and rec centers, social services, so things like day programming for adults who are differently abled, rehabilitation clinics. While we are focused on serving youth and people of low income, we know that they receive services from a wide variety of organizations across the state. So we try and make this program available to anyone who is really serving that population. And yeah, so that's it. In terms of geographic identities, we have a majority of our partners in the metro area this year, but we also have been trying to spread out into outstate Minnesota. And so we have 16 groups in northern Minnesota and 15 groups in southern Minnesota. And it's really been wonderful reconnecting with a lot of gardening enthusiasts in outstate Minnesota, because oftentimes that geographical barrier is one that should not exist. We all are on the same page when it comes to the benefits of gardening and our enthusiasm for gardening. So why not spread the wealth? So this summer, I learned through our application process that we're working with about 5,200 gardeners across the state of Minnesota, which is a wonderful number. This is anything from classes that are just going out to visit the garden every week, and teachers who are incorporating the garden into their curriculum, to summer school programs that are maybe doing programming every single day, and gardening is a little snippet of that. So again, it just speaks to the diversity of groups that work with Garden in a Box. As you can see, about 77% of them are under the age of 18. Vast majority of those 5 to 11 years age. And then 2/3 are beginner gardeners. And the other 25% or so that you see there that say that they're they have a little bit of gardening experience. In fact, those are returning groups who received that experience from working with us the year before. So really, we are introducing gardening to people who have never experienced it before. And the core of our services, as I said before, is really just getting materials out there. And the way that we are able to do that is very generous partnerships with the horticulture industry. And first and foremost among those is Wagner's, which is a garden center and a wholesaler in Minneapolis here. And they give us all of our plants. They give us really wonderful plants. And we're able to take those across the state of Minnesota. And they're a wonderful partner to have. So I have to sing their praises every time I am able to. This year we also are starting a partnership with Seed Savers Exchange, who has given us all the seeds that we'll be using for this year. I'm really looking forward to that, because they're a like-minded organization, just really trying to spread the joy of gardening and the joy of plants. In terms of the soil medium, we get our compost and our soil from Creekside, which is a company out in Hutchinson, Minnesota. And then we supplement that with fertilizer from Sustain, which, if I'm remembering correctly, is out of Faribault. And both of them are giving us really wonderful product at a significant discount, because they believe in what we're doing, and then they're really enthusiastic about sharing gardening opportunities with people who wouldn't otherwise be able to experience them. And this year we're also starting up a partnership with Garden Circles, which is a wonderful company out of Pine River, Minnesota. And they're giving us a very nice product here. It's a 1 foot tall by 3 foot diameter garden circle. So I guess technically speaking, we're no longer garden in the box. But the nice thing about this is that it's got a really sturdy landscaping fabric that overlaps a steel cage that gives much sturdier siding. And then the landscaping fabric goes over the ground as well, so you'll have a garden kit that is completely self-contained, just in case you are on bad soil or you are on contaminated soil. You can use these to throw down wherever is convenient to you. We also have partnership with BFG, which is a wholesaler supply company, and they're giving us the tomato cages and the fencing and stakes, which you had seen was an option. They're giving it to us completely free, and we're giving it to you completely free. We just know that some groups have issues with pests, and this is a small deterrent. I mean, it's not going to keep deer out or anything like that, but hopefully it'll keep your rabbits and your squirrels away from these gardens as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, you just let me know. Most of you have through the paperwork that I had you do, that Google document. But if you change your mind and you want to have one of these, we should have some extras. So we've been trying to get out into the community a little bit more, in addition to getting out state Minnesota, and so we've have cultivated some really wonderful partnerships for this year as well. So if you're up in Grand Rapids, you're going to be getting all of your soil and your compost and many of your plants from Bloomer's Garden Center. They've been really wonderful and been very flexible partners with us. If you're going to Wadena, Deer Creek Public Schools has a really fantastic deep wooden greenhouse and a 3-season hoop house as well. And they volunteered to grow all of our plants for people picking up in Wadena, so we're really excited about that. Runnings down in New Ulm was good enough to give us soil and compost at a very reduced price. And then Sargent's Gardens in Rochester is good enough to give us soil and compost, and then also are letting us pick up at their site in Rochester too. So if you're going to be pulling out of Rochester, you'll be pulling into their parking lot. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we operate. Once you've picked up your materials, I communicate with you primarily through online platforms. So I'll be doing webinars throughout the summer that are geared towards coordinators. So giving you tips and resources that will help you build your programs. We'll also be supplying you with videos and other webinars that are a little bit more geared towards the gardening public. So if you wanted to take those and spread them to your participants, if you thought they'd be interested, we're going to be recording those and providing links so that you can give those to people if they're interested in learning more about gardening outside of the programming that you're doing. In addition to that, all of my applications and my reporting are going to be through email and online platforms. And then we're going to be putting up a lot of our resources on our website. And it looks like I butchered both of those words. But what I meant to say is resources on our website. And so I'll be sending out links to those as well, so that if you are still in the process of building your gardening program, these are things like recommended curriculum and videos and other sites like Minnesota Department of Agriculture's Ag in the Classroom. So it's trying to put all those at your fingertips so that you have resources beyond what we're providing to really make sure that you have a successful gardening experience over the summertime. So just want to go quickly through our seasonal requirements. Basically, try and make it as easy as possible. We don't do too much in terms of reporting. We just ask that you come and pick up all the materials, which is a task in and of itself. Confirm with us that you've fully planted the boxes and let us know where they are. And schedule a site visit with me. It's just so helpful to be able to have a little time one-on-one with everybody who's participating in our program, so that I can see firsthand what you're doing with your gardens and answer any questions right there. It's very time intensive for me, but I have been hearing over and over again just how helpful it is to be able to shake hands and sit down and just go through what you're trying to do and figure out ways that I can help you. And then obviously maintaining and harvesting the garden for the full growing season. I say obviously, but at the same time, I recognize that a lot of you are school groups, a lot of you are taking this on yourself. This is not a part of a formal organization or program. And so oftentimes what that means is that you're being the hero and you're putting in a lot of work. And I want to recognize how difficult that is right now so that we can prepare for it as best we can. Whether that is anticipating any shortcomings that might happen from passing gardens off from a school group during the school year to a summer program, which many of you are doing, and then back again in the fall, or anticipating vacations that inevitably happen in the summertime. Just recognizing that making this commitment for the full growing season is work, and I'm ready to help you with that work so that we can be successful. Also, we have a request that we track harvest, and I'll go into that a little bit more later. It's a difficult thing, especially if you don't have a scale to gauge how much you are pulling out of the garden in terms of produce. But I think that it's so important to recognize the productivity of these gardens, both for the people who are supporting Garden in a Box through MSHS, and then for us to be able to circle back around and show anybody in your groups what sort of difference these gardens are making. And then lastly, we just have a quick evaluation at the end of the year so that I can capture any sort of feedback from you and use that towards improving the program in future years. So first off, distribution. I'm just going to try and go through this quick in pictures so that you can really see what it means to be picking up these Garden in a Box kits. As you can see there on the left, we've got a group that had, I believe, 4 kits, and that's represented in the back of that full-size pickup there. And on the right, that's a group that picked up 8 kits. And so as you can see, when I talk about garden kits, it really is just a lot of bulk materials. So you're getting 40-pound bags of soil, 10 per kit. You're getting a box of seeds and your raised bed kits and stakes and fencing, etc. And so when you are thinking about distribution, if you should be thinking about the capacity that you have in your own vehicle to pick up kits, how much weight can they handle, because each of those bags is 40 pounds, so that means, well, between 30 and 40 pounds. So that means that you per kit are going to be putting about 300-400 pounds into your car. So make sure that you got a pickup. If you need to call in favors from friends, or if you need to rent a trailer to bring along with you, those are really the best ways to make sure that it's a clean pickup. Distribution sites are the places that I've mentioned before. In Grand Rapids, we're going to be working with Second Harvest North Central Food Shelf, which is a participant who has a warehouse, and you can come pick up your supplies there. In Wadena, it's going to be at Wadena Deer Creek High School. They're going to plants. In New Ulm, it's going to be at Jefferson Elementary, which is a great participant from years past who's willing to let us use their space. In Rochester, it's going to be at Sergeant's Gardens, as I said before. And then in St. Paul, it's going to be at the Good Acre, which is a nonprofit that helps immigrant farmers and help cultivate local foods. And they're located just north of the U of M St. Paul campus on Larpenteur. So I guess technically speaking, it would be in Falcon Heights, but it's just easier to say St. Paul. So when I'm talking about distribution sites, I've had some questions about when and where. Grand Rapids, well, excuse me, let's start from the first. So first I'm going to be down in Rochester on May 7th. I'm anticipating having people pick things up from 1 to 7 p.m. in the afternoon, and then I'll be scheduling specific times. I would like you to come and pick up your supplies. That way we don't have too many log jams as people are coming in. But I'll try my best to be flexible, because I know some people are doing this as part of a job and some people are doing this outside. And so if you're able to come pick up during the workday, or if you need to come afterwards, I'll try and switch that around so I'll make it easy as possible for you. In New Ulm, we're looking at May 9th, which is Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. And again, we're looking at between 1 and 6 or 7 o'clock. We'll have a little break in there as school is getting out, just so that we don't have too much traffic. In St. Paul at the Good Acre, because this is a majority of our programs, we're going to be doing distribution both all day Friday, May 18th, and then Saturday morning, May 19th. So I'll send an email out giving a suggested time. If you aren't unavailable, or if there's another more convenient time for you between those 2 days, you just let me know, and we'll go back and forth and make sure that it's something that works for you. Then I'll be heading up north, and we'll be in Wadena on Thursday, May 24th, again from 1 to 7 p.m. And then in Grand Rapids the next week on, if I remember correctly, it would be Tuesday, May 29th, so just after the Memorial Day weekend. And so this way, hopefully you can pick up your plants and put them in the grounds, and especially for northern Minnesota, you won't have to worry too much about frost or cold weather shocking those plants. And then what else? Well, we can get back around to it, but that'll just give you an idea of what I'll be doing for distribution. So when you get there to distribution, this is what you can expect. We'll just do a quick check-in. I'll bring you over to do soil and compost pickup. Because they are 40-pound bags, I'll be helping you out with that. If you want to bring someone along with to help load you up, it'll just make the process that much quicker. But for example, in St. Paul here, we always have a couple of volunteers from the Hort Society going over and helping you load up that soil and compost, so you're not doing that all yourself. Come swing back around, because your plants will be the most vulnerable there, and we don't want to have to fit the soil compost in around the plants. We want to fit the plants in around the soil and compost. Once you've got those, grab your materials and seeds, and then we'll just check you out, make sure that you have everything that you need before you're underway. Not too much time at all, 15 minutes, half an hour tops. So when you check in, I just want to shake your hand, make sure that you know me, I know you. I'll kind of send you around, because we'll have these at different stations in the location that you'll be picking up. And then also I'll have you pick up a packing slip, because you can present that to the volunteers, who can just kind of check off what materials you have. And then depending on how many how many kits you're picking up, we'll have a couple extra volunteers just floating. So if you think that you'll need extra help just to load things up, then I'll have them available for that. So as you can see, the soil compost, we just have them dropped on pallets. And so it really is just you picking them up one by one. It's a little labor intensive, but we'll have volunteers to help you out with that. Per kit, we have 10 bags of soil and compost. I'm thinking the ratio is going to be 4 bags of compost to 6 bags of soil. And then returning groups will also have 2 bags of compost. The plants, we've had a lot of questions about this as well. We're giving all the plants for free, and what that is marigolds. They're 4-packs, so you can put them on the corners of your circle. Basil, white Lisbon onions, which basically you can treat them as a green onion, but they'll also form a bulb if you want to do that. We'll have a small tomato plant. If I'm remembering right, it's called a sweet and neat. It's a determinate cherry tomato that doesn't get too big. It's got a really nice size to it. We also have sweet orange pepper, strawberries, and a bush cucumber. That kind of falls over the side of your box as well. But as you can see, they're laying their bulk, and so we're going to have volunteers kind of breaking them apart and having them ready to go so that you can pick them all up per kit. And then last, some of the materials. We have really great sustained fertilizer. You're going to get a bag of those per box. We're trying this year doing this compost tea. It's fertilizer, but it's in a little kind of tea bag, and you can throw that into a pot of water and let it sit overnight, and it'll infuse the water like tea with the fertilizers, and then you can just pour it onto your kits. If you don't want to do that, you want to directly throw it into your plant, then into your soil bed, you can cut open these tea bags and just sprinkle them on there, and then it'll be a slow release for several weeks as your plants get established. And then for all of you out there, you'll also get tomato cages for your boxes. You'll get a yard sign just to let people know. We find that it's important, especially if you're worried about vandalism. The more signs you have up that tell people about what these kits are for, the more you can put a face to the program, and it really does cut down on vandalism. Of course, then you'll get your garden circles, raised bed, and then fencing and stakes if you had asked for those. Then come over and just check out with me. So when it comes to fully planting the box and confirming the garden locations, it really is a simple thing. If I can get some photos from you, especially if you are planting the box with your participants, I just find it's so wonderful to be able to have that photographic evidence of what's going on out there. It really helps me put faces and names to these kits, and it also helps just sing the praise of all of these groups who are in our program. And so I use that in a lot of marketing. I use that on our website, and so just keep that in mind. We do keep locations and specific names out of there because these are people under the age of 18. But if you don't have, if you're nervous about having permission from your participants, then just don't send me photos of those participants because I'm going to be using them. Okay. But really, when you're fully planted boxes, confirmed garden locations, all you have to do is send me a quick photo, something like this, and over the summertime, showing me the work that you're doing. It really helps me understand. And then also, if I see some issues with the planting, then I can kind of give you that feedback, because a lot of times, especially if you're working with kids, they kind of plant them all over the place and don't think about spacing, etc. And this way we can anticipate that as well. It's really simple. Yeah, if you even snap a picture on your phone and send it to me that way. I mean, ideally, I would get high resolution photos so that I can use them all over the place. But even just snapping a picture and sending it to my email, or I'll be giving out my cell phone number as well. So if you send it to me that way, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you to communicate with me so that we can make a successful summer. So once you've planted, we're in the middle of June here. I'll be scheduling site visits with everybody. This is really just me going across the states in my pickup truck, and it's a great way for me just to confirm that everything's been planted, to meet you, make sure that you're doing okay, give any direct feedback that I might see with the boxes there. Last year I was able to visit 79 of 81 sites, and it's usually last part of the last part of June into July. And the reason I keep doing it is because it's the best rated aspect of our program. Everybody just says they love being able to show me what they're doing and have that conversation one-on-one. Probably the trickiest thing that I ask of you is doing harvest reports, especially for people who maybe don't have a scale or have garden programs that are only meeting once a week, or maybe a little bit more informal. Because as easy it is to demonstrate through photos what you're pulling out of the garden there, to find like a weight or a unit of measurements that you can use to show me what you're pulling out of the gardens is a little bit time consuming. So I'm still trying to figure out ways to make that easy for everybody, but I just want to put you on notice now that that is something that I'm going to be asking for. So if you have a way to track how many, I like keeping a calendar and just writing down pulled 4 tomatoes here, or 3 bunches of lettuce there, and then just let me know how you are quantifying that, what your unit of measure is, so that way I can start kind of plugging numbers in and get an idea of how productive these boxes are. And that usually is something like, if you are in southern Minnesota, you're probably going to be expecting these things to start coming through in June even. And then I'll be asking for your harvest reports in late July through August and September. So it's really not something that is I'm not asking for exact numbers. I can usually work with estimations. But if you have programming that you want to infuse with different activities, one really nice one is to do harvest reports. That way you can help your participants understand how much food is coming out of the garden. It's a really nice way to help them track along and keep them invested throughout the summertime, so that in the fall you can look back and say, wow, look how much food we got out of this, and look at all these great things. Oh, do you remember that strawberry that we had in middle of June, early July? Wasn't that great? It really helps me produce numbers like this. Last year we were able to pull out 7,800 pounds of produce, which is equivalent about 20 pounds per box. And I think that number is actually fairly low, because a lot of groups would let me know, oh yeah, well, we pulled stuff out, but we had participants who are so enthusiastic about these strawberries and tomatoes that, you know, they just went out there and started picking away before we could even track how much was pulled out. But just give you a visual cue, I mean, look at all these pictures. These are vegetables being pulled of our gardens. And they went to feed 3,700 out of folks who are using our boxes, and 47% of those who are eating produce were saying that they had tried a new vegetable that they'd never eaten before, all because they were gardening, you know? And of course, you know as well as I do that really is because when you're growing it, it completely reframes what a vegetable is. It's not something that people are forcing you to eat. It's something that you grew. It's something that you're excited about. And suddenly we have kids who are stubborn or picky eaters much more excited about gardening. And so once we're done with all of our harvest reports in August and September, I'll swing back around and ask for an evaluation in late September, early October. And really, this is for your benefits. Of course, it helps me put numbers to what I was doing over the summertime, but more importantly, it helps me be able to articulate what your priorities are. So in those evaluations, I'm asking you, well, what are you hoping to do with your garden in future years? And I'm hearing back things like, we want to expand our garden outside the garden box. We want to find funding to really expand programming, connect with more participants and volunteers. We really want to start growing roots into our community here by reaching out to businesses and garden educators and garden clubs so that they can help us really solidify our garden programming so that Garden in a Box is used really as a platform for much more sustainable garden programming throughout the state. So that is it. Hopefully I gave you a good idea of what we'll be doing this summertime. Probably most pressing is distribution was going to be starting in southern Minnesota in just a couple of weeks here. I did receive some emails from a lot of you saying, hey, so what sort of plants can we expect and what sort of resources, etc. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what those will be and where you can expect them throughout the season. But now I'm going to be going to questions. So if you have any that are still outstanding, just fill them out in the box there, and I will go through them right now. So first is a recommendation. I know that so many people are using these kits for so many different purposes, but especially when it comes to teachers and daycare providers, oftentimes we're looking for things that meet state standards. And so I am working right now with St. Paul Park and Rec, who are doing an environmental learning curriculum around our garden and boxes. And so that's something that we're developing this year, and hopefully I can use that as a basis for doing much more nuanced and technical curriculum for everybody who needs it in future years. But we're all doing this together. So if you are already doing that, I would love to see the programming that you are including with this garden box, any sort of curricula that you use, because then I can just take that and pass it out to everybody else. So that way we all have those resources at our fingertips. So just as a reminder, metro area pickup is over at Good Acres, which is Suffolk Larpenteur. And so what I will do is once I have nailed down the times, then over the next week or so, I will be getting back to you on a specific time that also has a location and contact information so that you have everything you need to be able to come and pick up your kits without any issue. Again, down in Rochester, we're going to be at Sargent's on 2nd. They've got a couple locations down there, so I'll give their specific address, and that's on May 7th, May 9th over at Jefferson Elementary in New Ulm, May 18th and 19th in St. Paul at Goodacre, May 24th up in Wadena, Deer Creek High School, and then May 29th over in Grand Rapids. And when it comes to times, just to reiterate, I'll be sending them a suggested time to you, and we can kind of go back and forth on what is convenient for you on those dates. There's a question about photos. So I do see that some people, because of confidentiality issues, for this participant, she's working with kids who are in foster care. They can't send photos of their participants. That's perfectly fine. Please do let me know that. Just send me an email giving me a heads up. But since I'm working with so many groups, it's really hard for me to keep track. So the easiest thing is just for you to make sure that when you're taking pictures, you don't have to take them of the participants. You could do something where the participant is has their back to you, or maybe you don't include their face, or you just take pictures of really nice pictures of the plants or the boxes themselves, and that way I can kind of use them to show just how bountiful these boxes are. That's really useful for me as well. We have some offerings about partnering with local businesses. For example, we have a woman who's going to be partnering with your local hardware store who has scales, and they might have the capacity to hand them out the initial kit. So if that's the case, if I can get that partnership up and running by the time we're handing kits out, I will let you know ASAP. And if you are interested in grabbing one of those, you just let me know. We'll try and get that going. Likely the best I can do right now is just send an inquiry out. But if that's something that you think is a good idea, it sounds like she just went to the hardware store, said, hey, I'm working with this group doing gardening. Would you be willing to donate a scale? And I've had a lot of success. Just kind of do those cold calls, those upfront questions. I know a lot of businesses are happy to support you. And I have no qualms with you adding to your gardens with those sorts of community support. That's exactly what I'm looking for. We have another question about consent. My assumption when it comes to consent is that you have consent to your participants. We don't include any sort of identifying information. We don't include where the picture was located. We don't include the name of the child, and so really that kind of keeps us clean in terms of legality of using those pictures. And we put a lot of those disclaimers on our applications. So that was part of the agreement that I had you sign that said that it is okay for us to use those pictures in the capacity that we mentioned. So if you're not sure about that, you need to check in with the kids or with their parents and get consent forms. I certainly can send those out to you, but my assumption is that I have permission from legal guardians, and that is represented by you sending the picture to me. So if you're not sure, don't send a picture of your participants until you are sure. We have a question about seeds and other things to be planted in the garden. The surface area of the garden, I mean, it's 3 foot diameter, and with the 7 plants and the 2 packs of seeds, you're probably going to have very bountiful gardens. I'm not sure if you'll have room for it, but I know a lot of people, especially if you're a savvy gardener, you can be strategic about when you plant those and where you plant those so that you can kind of rotate out plants. And if you have other plants that you want to plant, or you want to do things like put all your strawberry plants in one of your kits and all of your tomatoes in another one of your kits. I found that is things that groups have done and worked really well so that they can kind of set up stations with their garden in the boxes and just make it a little bit easier growing medium so that you don't have plants that are competing with each other as much. So long story short, if you have other plants or seeds and you think that you can fit them in there, you're welcome to, absolutely. We have one question about people who aren't part of the programming who might be taking food out of the boxes, and any suggestions about how to minimize that risk. And that'll be something that I'll go more into depth in our webinars that we'll be doing over the summertime, in order ways that you can anticipate that. just in a nutshell, if you can personalize the boxes as much as possible. I've had groups who take stakes and paint them with their names, saying like, this is so-and-so's kits, and the food is going to feed their family. Or this is a part of such and such a project where we are taking this food and bringing it over here and doing all these great things with it. The more that people can put a face to the name, put a face to the gardens, the harder it is for them to justify to themselves to steal things out of there. The other thing that really helps minimize any risk of pulling out of the garden is having contact information there. And if you have people who are transients and you have your garden program open to neighborhood or transient populations, putting your information out there and saying, are you interested in this garden? Contact me. I would love to get you in the program. And that way you're just opening the door for them. And if they're really taking stuff out of the garden because they want to have fresh fruits and vegetables on their plate at home, I mean, if you have the capability of giving that to them, or even saying you want fresh fruits and vegetables, here are some food shelves that provide it, or etc. That's a great way to try and minimize the risk of people stealing out of the garden there by welcoming them into the fold. Okay, that is all I'm seeing for questions. I really hope that this was beneficial for you all. If your question's not answered, or you have something that comes up later today or tomorrow or whenever, I am available by email, and I will do my best to get back to you. I know people have been sending emails the last couple of weeks, and I've just been very busy trying to get this year up and running. I'll be better at responding to you. So I usually try and respond either the day of or the following day to emails, but right now I'm kind of 4 or 5 days out in terms of response rates. So that'll improve again once things slow down. Just the last thing to say is that I am working with 84 groups throughout this year. That's both returning and new groups. So I do have people writing me asking about any ways that we could tweak the program to make it a little bit easier for them, and I'll do my very best. But when it comes to things like delivering the kits to you, or other exceptions to the rule, my hands my capabilities are a little limited because I'm just working with so many people. So, but it doesn't mean that I'm not up for trying to make sure that this works for you. That's exactly what I'm here for. So if you have an extenuating circumstance that's keeping you from being successful with these gardens, I want to hear about it so that I can help you work through it. Okay? All right. Well, thank you all so much. Any other questions? I'll stick around here for a little bit just to keep an eye out for that. But I'm looking forward to starting to do distribution over the next couple of weeks and getting the season going. And I don't know about you, but I'm in St. Paul right now, and I'm looking out with a whole lot of snow. So I'm just going to be optimistic and think that that's all going to be down the drain this weekend when we hit 50, 60 degrees. Okay, thanks again. Oh, we've got a really good question here. If you've got to leave, you got to leave. But I think this is something that I'll follow up on. We had a question about having the slides available. So this whole webinar has been recorded, so I'll have a link for that. And then also I can definitely include the PowerPoint if you want to hand those out to everybody. That is a great idea.